6.5 Part 1 Solving Radical Equations. By the end of today's lesson, students are going to be able to solve square root and other radical equations. Let's look at our first example. It's the square root of 4x plus 1 minus 5 equals 0. Okay, in all of these problems, your first step is going to be to get whatever your radical is all by itself. So, I have the minus 5 at the end. How could I get the minus 5 to the other side? So the opposite of minus 5 is plus 5. Whatever you do to the left side, you also do to the right side. Now I have the square root of 4x plus 1 equals 5. To get rid of your square root, you know that you square both sides to undo it. When you square a square root, it just leaves you with what's underneath your radical. And then 5 squared is 25. Okay, now it's super easy, and now we just have to solve for x. So to move plus 1 to the other side, we're going to subtract it. All right, and then to get rid of the 4, we are going to divide by 4. And we get that x equals 6. Now we're going to look at examples that aren't square roots. So we have 2 times the quantity x plus 3 to the 2/3 power equals 8. In section 6.4, we learned that to the 2/3 power means the cube root of x plus 3 squared. However, we do not want to do that today. It's not going to help us in any way, shape, or form. So our first step on the other page was to get the radical by itself. Now our first step is to get the parenthesis with the exponent by itself. So how would I get rid of that 2 that's being multiplied in front of my x plus 3? So to get rid of it, we divide both sides by 2. So I get x plus 3 to the 2/3 power equals 4. Okay? Now, to get rid of 2/3, we just multiply by the reciprocal. Whatever you do to the left side, you also do to the right side. So 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom makes that cancel out. So on the left side, we just have x plus 3. Now, 4 to the 3/2 power, remember, that means take the square root of 4 and then cube it. All I did is rewrite it, okay? So the square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. And then I have to raise that to the 3rd power. So 2 to the 3rd power just gives me 8. But negative 2 to the 3rd power gives me negative 8. So I have to write 2 separate equations so that I can solve this. To move positive 3 to the other side, we subtract it. So we get x equals 5. Same thing on the other side, but when we subtract it from negative 8, that gives me negative 11. So the only reason we have 2 answers in this problem is because this bottom number was even. If that bottom number was odd, you would only have 1 answer instead. In example 3, we have 2 times the 5th root of x plus 150 all to the 3rd power, and then minus 30 equals 24. So the first thing I want to do is get everything away from this radical, okay? So to move my minus 30 to the other side, I'm going to add 30. So that gives me 2 times the 5th root of x plus 150 to the 3rd power equals 54. Now to get rid of the 2 out in front, we divide both sides by 2, so that gives me the 5th root of x plus 150 to the 3rd power equals 27. Now, I don't want to work with the 5th root and then to the 3rd power, so I am just going to rewrite this as x plus 150 to the 3/5 power. Okay, what I did was changed it from radical form to exponential form. So now to get rid of my 3/5, I know that I multiply by the reciprocal, which is 5/3. whatever you do to the left-hand side, you also do to the right-hand side. So that leaves me with x plus 150 equals the cube root of 27 all to the 5th power. So let's find out what the cube root of 27 is. So that gives me just 3. And then 3 to the 5th power is going to give me x plus 150 equals 243. So then to get rid of my 150, I am going to subtract 150. And 243 minus 150 gives me x equals 93. So remember in example 2 we had 2 answers. This one only had 1 answer because the bottom number was an odd number, okay?